Oh, cheese whiz, put it on my crack. I think it's already at a party again.
Awesome.
I don't know any of the words to that song. No, that's just I make it up as I go along. So there you have it. There, and I have that recording too. So there's an intro.
Welcome. You're listening to The Pixel Perspective. I'm your host, Adrian Townsend.
And I am your other host, JJ. You could also be watching it, not just necessarily listening.
That's true. That's true. In my case, I usually listen. It fits my schedule better.
With that much time, yeah, I absolutely. It's why I with my videos I stick to 5 to 10 minutes if possible. Sometimes run a little longer than that, but I do not like sitting there and well, I know I'm discouraging people right now. Don't sit in front of your computer screen for that long and watch. Well, you can watch Adrian for that long. Just don't watch me for that long.
Oh man, I like longer form videos though. I mean, short form is good, but there's some videos that longer form is cool.
Oh man. Normally we would do a what have you been playing? However, we literally just recorded our last episode from last month. Like a couple of days ago. So Nothing's really changed since then. As you can see, I'm still in my old apartment at this point when you finally see or hear this. I wanted to make sure that we had this episode recorded and ready to go. That way I can be sure I have plenty of time to have my new place set up and be able to record there. So this is kind of just a precautionary thing. So we're actually just going to jump, I think, right into the topic. Little, at least for me, it was confusing. I happened to say on the last one, we are doing the top 10 games of the past decade, which to me means like out of all the games from the decade, your 10 favorite, like your top 10 ranked. But what we are actually doing is our top games of the past decade, meaning like each year, our top game for that year.
For the year. Yeah. So when we talked about this, I think we had two different things in mind. And I was thinking by year, because I thought that would be kind of cool to go through and think about the games that I played that year and what impact they had on me. Because I have a feeling that most of my favorite games of the decade would probably come from recent years. I'd say within the past 4 or 5 years. So it was kind of nice to go back and look at the, 2010 through 15, 14, and remember what I was playing back then. This is pre current console generation era that we're talking about. So it was kind of nice to go back to that.
And little disclaimer as well. I noticed this because Adrian had said we were talking about it beforehand. He's like, man, I am having such a hard time deciding on these specific years. I've got so many choices and stuff. And me, I blazed through mine because I have not been playing any new games for the past 10 years, apparently. So I have a list, but it's like, chances are there's going to be some where people are like, how did you put that above all the other stuff that came out? It's like, well, it's really because I didn't play like 90% of what you're thinking of.
So I just
want to make sure people know.
Should we lay down some caveats to our list here? I mean, there's not many here, but
what do you mean caveats?
Well, I mean, kind of the rules that we played by. So the games that obviously that we chose were our personal favorite games, not necessarily games of the year that
correct
pop people say, but they're also the ones that we played. So your list is going to be different from my list, and it's going to be kind of fun and interesting to hear what you played and why. So I'm excited for this.
Yep. I believe I started on the last video with whatever we did. So why don't you kick us off with your pick for 2000? And are we going to just move our way forward, I guess?
Yeah, let's start at 10 and go up.
2010, do it.
All right, so 2010. My favorite game of 2010 is Mass Effect 2. Yeah.
That is mine as well.
Oh, nice. So we can
Yep.
we can both talk about this.
Mass Effect
Cool.
2.
We started off strong. Well, Mass Effect 2, like, okay, the first Mass Effect was a game that I enjoyed, but I didn't necessarily love. And it had a lot of good ideas. I felt like the uh, environments and everything were really cool, but the gameplay was a little bit lacking. Mass Effect 2, for some reason, hit all the right notes for me. It had an awesome story. The characters were well developed. Um, I I just enjoyed every aspect of it. You know, the gunplay, the multiplayer. They introduced multiplayer in Mass Effect 2. Or was it 3? Now I'm going to second guess myself.
I don't remember. I never played the multiplayer in any of the Mass Effect games.
I remember having a lot of fun with the multiplayer on one of the two. Now I'm talking about two, so I'm not sure which one it was. But yeah, I mean, I just remember having a really good time discovering the story and what was going on, and learning about Shepard. And Shepard is what is he? Whenever he's on the capital city. Oh my gosh, it's been so long now.
A Spectre?
No, whenever you go into the main capital city and you go to the different vendors and stuff, and he has to give like a promo, say, I'm Shepard, and this is my shop of choice or something like that. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's been so long since I've played it though.
It has.
But I do know what you're talking about.
I
There's
just
so
remember
much
having fun.
personality in that game. Even, and it's the whole series, quite frankly. But 2 was actually my personal favorite of the 3 as well. Like you mentioned, I was the same way. Actually, the first time I played Mass Effect 1, I got bored. I didn't even want to push through and do it. I got to the Citadel and I was like, this place is taking way too long. Is the whole game in here where I'm not doing anything, just running around? Like, I just don't care and I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So I stopped. Eventually played it for TFN when we did that for the show, and I was like, all right, now I have a reason to go through it because the other guys are going to be doing it and whatnot. And I ended up liking it. I pushed through that part, and the rest of the game I really enjoyed. But then I got to 2, man, and hands down my favorite in the trilogy. It's
yeah, I agree.
Like the whole thing with the Elusive Man and the crew, and just Mass Effect is so well built. This was, back when BioWare was in its prime and stuff. Everything from it's everything from the main story, obviously, which is great, all the way down to just the side little things. Like there's that whole, like, Brian and I still joke around about it every now and then, but there's that whole, I wish I had memorized. He does, and it cracks me up every time he does it. But on one of the planets, you can stand next to a guard who's like talking to 2 trainees, or a soldier who's talking to 2 trainees, and he's like, don't you ever fire your weapon straight up into the sky, because if you do, and he goes into this whole like tirade about how if you fire your weapon straight up, the bullet's gonna clear the atmosphere, go millions of miles in one direction, land eventually on another planet and kill somebody else. And like, it's just hilarious how he goes into that, and all you have to do is just stand there and listen to him talk, and it's great.
Wow,
that's how that whole
I don't
game
remember
is.
that at all.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's so many little small Easter eggs in there. It's fantastic. It's the the reason I love it so much. There's just so much to it. Now, it's one of the first games that I can remember, other than like JRPGs and stuff for me, where I wanted to do everything. I was like, I gotta, as much as I can, I gotta get every character. I want to make sure that my ship is decked out as much as I can. Like I want to get all these people that I talked to, the side missions and everything. I loved everything about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had a wonderful time with the game. The problem is though, I remember characters and I remember the main gist of the story, but I don't remember a whole lot more than that. So I feel like this is one I need to go back to and revisit.
It was 10 years ago. So
yeah, it was a long time ago, but I did play it. I mean, it was my most played game of that year. I guarantee. But do you remember who you used to run around with? Who your main companions were?
I switched it up. Every single mission,
you?
I changed it up. Yeah, because I like using everybody.
Yeah, I think I did too. I remember Garrus was Garrison too?
Garrus was in all 3 of them, I believe. Yeah.
but that was another thing that was kind of weird to me. They changed up all the characters in 2. So I don't remember which ones carried over from 1, but it was a little bit
It depends on how
like
you
they were
play.
starting. Okay. It was like you're starting over in 2. I remember that.
Yeah, 'cause, well, you can go out and recruit some of the ones from 1, and even then the options were limited. Like in 1, there was you choose between 2 people, basically who lives and who dies. Um, and then I think there's like 1 or 2 others where you can potentially not have them for that following game as well. And then
Yeah.
in 2, you can everybody can literally die, including Shepard. So it's like there's a lot of decisions in that game, so
Yeah.
it's crazy. And no matter what happens, you can still carry over your save to the next game. Like if you have Shepard die and everybody die, Mass Effect 3 will start with somebody completely new, and you're hearing about Shepard and his adventures and that kind of stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. I
Yep.
missed out on a
Yeah.
lot
There's
apparently.
there's so much to it. It's mind blowing. Yeah. I have been hoping for a remaster at some point, because I would love to play through the whole trilogy again, clean up 1 a little bit, maybe work on the inventory system and stuff, and then I would, yeah, the Mako missions, ugh. But the whole experience for all 3 games, and you know what, people complain about the ending to 3. For me, it was never about the ending; it was always about the journey
Right.
from all 3 games. So yeah,
Right.
love it.
Building characters. It was one of the first games that I remember. Well, not one of the first, but it was a game where I remember really it was character driven. Like you had to build relationships with your companions, and that was part of the fun of the game, was getting to know these other characters and their experiences, and um, just kind of growing an attachment to them. That's why it was a little bit jarring for me to go from 1 to 2, because I'd already grown attachment to a lot of those characters in 1, and I have to start all over with new characters. But I
Yep,
actually preferred the characters from 2 more, so it ended up working out better in the
yeah,
end.
for sure. Yeah, it's good stuff. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's go.
I
You go ahead with 11 then.
I would imagine we have the same game. If we don't have the same game on 2011, I'm going to be like, "Are you kidding me?"
I guarantee you we have a different game. 11 was a big year for me, but I'll let you go.
My game for 2011, and you're wrong if you don't choose this, because holy crap, is the Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Not mine.
That is,
Oh
oh my
man.
god!
Yeah.
Ugh.
You'll see why when we get there.
I don't know if I can do this show with you anymore, man. I'm starting to question your gamer cred at this point.
Man, I love
No.
Skyrim, I do, but it didn't have a lasting appeal with me.
Oh my god. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about this anymore. Um, it's fine. This game. I mean, it's freaking Skyrim, dude. It's been released to the moon and back so many
Oh, I
times since
know.
then.
So,
It's
yeah.
even on freaking Amazon Alexa. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's you hear about games that advertise go anywhere, do anything. That really you could in that game was pretty much just go and do whatever the hell you want. You don't have to stick to any storyline. You don't have to, stay on any path. You have a wide world to explore. You find your way from point A to point B, do whatever the heck you want to do. And my favorite parts were the side things that had really, really cool stuff. Like you'd find an abandoned tower where you go inside, and right as you open the front door, you find a little notebook with some torn pages like laying on the ground, and you pick it up and you read it, and it's talking about like a guy who was with his family living here, and he would hear scratches at night, but he wasn't sure where it was coming from or something like that. And you walk a little bit deeper into the tower, you find another couple of pages, and it says like, the scratches have gotten louder. My kids are starting to, really freak out about this, blah, blah, blah. You move into the tower again. Last night, one of my kids disappeared, and I'm not sure where it is. Move again. Last night, I found this door that leads underground. I'm going to check it out tonight. And you find this whole story of just a trail, and you get to the end, and like you find out like he's the monster, and you have to like fight him or something. Like there's so many little tiny things like that. They throw dragons in there. You have these crazy abilities. You are like, it is, in my opinion, the definition of role playing.
Mhm.
Other than obviously you still have to follow a script and stuff that they give you. But at the same time, as far as what you can do, I mean, you can choose to be on either side of so many things in that game, and it really, really was so cool. And that game just screamed exploration. As
Yeah,
much as I loved Oblivion, Skyrim just blew it out of the water.
it
So
really did. I agree. Yeah, it was an incredible game. I did put a lot of time into that game, a surprising amount of time. It never really stuck with me, and I'm not exactly sure why. But I mean, I completed all of the side quests, the guilds,
yeah,
completed all of those. I had a really good time with the game, but I've never really had a desire to go back to it. The only time that I've ever revisited that game is when they released it on VR. I thought it would be really cool to experience in VR, and it is. It's actually really,
have some
really.
Dramamine handy though.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You can't play very long.
Ugh,
I can last about 30 minutes and I'm done. But it's
yep,
still cool to experience that world in VR.
for sure. I guarantee you, if I ever make and I think this is probably a big reason why I put it on there. If I ever make a list of like, not even necessarily like my favorite games, but games that I would consider like the most influential of all time,
Yeah,
I guarantee you Skyrim would be on there.
definitely. Skyrim would be on there. So would my 2011 game.
I doubt that, but okay. What you got?
Dark Souls. Should have known. You should have
I
known.
should have known. I honestly, like, I didn't really even look at the list. I got to where it said Skyrim, and I was like, oh, no, I don't even need to see anything else.
Well, Dark Souls, I've talked about it pretty extensively in our first episode or episode 0. So I won't talk about it much here, but I will say that I guarantee you I put a lot more time into Dark Souls that year than I did Skyrim. And I think that may have had an effect on my take on Skyrim. I don't know for sure. I can't remember, but I just remember it was all about Dark Souls for me, and that co-op experience with my friends. And
Not to mention there have been other Dark Souls games that have come out since, so you've been able to like keep Dark Souls itself fresh in your mind, thinking about it, comparing and contrasting it, whereas the rest of us are like, are we gonna get a new Skyrim and stop just re-releasing it over and over again?
Yeah, definitely. And actually I had to really fight myself for not picking any more Dark Souls games on the rest of this list. I did not. So but I would argue that Dark Souls was every bit as influential as Skyrim as far as gameplay mechanics and things that have come since. You look at different games that are picking up in difficulty, utilizing the kind of risk reward system that Dark Souls implements so well, the kind of patient battle system that Dark Souls puts in.
I'm so scared, man. Because I know you want me to play it, and I really do, but I know myself, and I know that I'm gonna get frustrated and be like, and I don't want to force myself because I don't want to be like, man, I didn't like it. It was all, and like, risk hurting your feelings and stuff. Because
Dude, I know it's a game that is very divisive,
but at the same time, I'm also of the mindset that that's one of those games where if I do finish it and I do push through it and I am able to do it, regardless of like, even if I hate it, I can still say I beat Dark Souls.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the thing is like, once you get that first taste of defeating that complicated boss and you acquire this really cool weapon and you upgrade your character with the souls that you've acquired, and once you get that first taste of that accomplishment, that the game rewards you so well for your sticking it out, basically.
Your diligence.
Exactly. It just keeps you coming back for more. It's such an addictive quality that game possesses, and I love it.
I know you wanted to play co-op, but I'm making it a point that I have to at least finish the first boss by myself as kind of a rite of passage.
So I don't think they open up co-op until a little bit later on in the game anyway, and it's not that far. And I don't remember correctly, but I think co-op doesn't even open until after the first boss. So, oh no, wait. Hell, I don't remember. It's been a while. But I do know it might be, if you do get frustrated with it, go ahead and call on me so I can walk you through it. Because if I can help you get through that first part, it's fun. And to be honest with you, I have not beaten that game by myself. I've always beaten it in co-op. So some might argue that I'm not experiencing the full difficulty that game has to offer. But I think the co-op aspect of the game is every bit as important as anything else. It's what I love most about the game.
You love the game. That's all that matters. I mean,
yeah.
Cares.
Exactly.
All right. 2012 is an even year, so that is you again, sir. Go for it.
Okay. Persona 4 Golden is
Oh.
my 2012 game of the year. And I debated putting this game on my list simply because it's a re-release of an older game, PS2 game. But they did add some things to it to make it a little bit different from the PS2 version. And I never played the game prior to this. So I spent many nights playing Persona 4 Golden and, laying in bed before I fall asleep, I would play for, a couple hours. And I remember the music so well. And, even my wife remembers the music.
I hear the music is very good. Yeah.
It's my favorite in the series as far as music goes. It wasn't my first Persona game to play. Persona 3 was. And I didn't beat Persona 3. I got probably halfway through it. And then when I got my Vita, one of the premier RPGs on the system was Persona 4. So
yeah.
I definitely picked that up. And once I started playing and learning about the characters and the relationships that they have, it was such a strong character-driven storyline. And along with a kind of a murder mystery, you have to solve. And it just it sunk its hooks into me like immediately. And I couldn't stop playing it. And I think beyond just the characters and the music, is you also build relationships with side characters, not just your party characters. So that's another aspect of it that's a lot of fun. And the way that it incorporates dungeon crawling with daily life in school is so masterfully done, I think, in that game. It balances two different styles of gameplay extremely well. So you can go do some dungeon crawling for a while, and if you get tired of that, just go ahead and quit and continue on daily life as normal.
Go take your exams.
Take your exams. That's right. Oh man. Okay, so I cheated on the exams. I had to get those points, so I would always look them up on Google. I was that guy.
Oh well, everybody does that, man. Come on, shoot.
Okay, all right.
Some of those are like ancient Japanese history and like crazy stuff we would not know.
So are these questions that, at least in the other games, do they present the answers to those questions in game, or is it just stuff you should maybe
like
know?
If you're wrong, the teacher will say like, oh, that's incorrect, it's actually blah, 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 blah.
So but if you miss that class period or whatever before your exam, you might miss the question altogether.
Correct. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's it. My 2012.
All right. My 2012. And again, because I tend to look at like not just how much I love a game, but also how big of an impact that I felt that it had. My game for 2012 is Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I wasn't super sold on this game when I first saw it, simply because I honestly was not a fan of the comic book style look. I was already a fan of the TV show. I've come to love it. I've grown to love it. I was a fan of the TV show, and so it was realistic to me and that kind of thing. And I never read the graphic novels at the time. I have now. So I was kind of just like, I was like, oh no, they made it into a cartoon, and I don't know. I was huffing and puffing, and I just had no interest. And it wasn't until like I started seeing all over the internet people raving about this game that you barely even play. It's more of just a story that you click and go through,
Right.
with a few bare bones basic gameplay elements, talking about how amazing it was. And even people who weren't into gaming were all about this because they could just experience this really, really well told story. And I had never heard of Telltale before this. So it was, it was just like one of those games where I was like, all right, well, everybody else is saying all this stuff. Sure. Why not? And then I played it and I was just blown away by how well it was, how attached I got to some of the characters. I wasn't a big fan of Clementine in the first game. I think maybe it was her voice actress. She was just a little too, like, didn't seem natural to me.
Right.
I just wasn't a fan of that. Like, I wanted to like her, I really did. And in the later episodes of that series, masterfully done. She's a brilliant character, very well voice acted, and just amazing. She's my favorite character in the the following ones. But in that first season wasn't the greatest. But Lee, I thought, was incredible, and Kenny, I thought the relationships there were so well done. The choices that you have to make, while technically you're kind of gonna overall end up with the same story, and it's one of those where it gives you the illusion of choice. But still, every choice that you had was absolutely gut wrenching. And you just, because you had to choose in some cases who was going to live and who was going to die. And you'd come to know these people. And it was like, it's one of the few games I can really remember having like a serious emotional attachment to that wasn't a JRPG. Because those games, you're with those characters in those games for, 40 plus hours. So obviously you're going to feel something for some of them.
Right.
Whereas this one, it's one episode is going to be about 3 hours, if that. And to, feel what I felt in that short amount of time for these characters is a pretty amazing feat and speaks to the storytelling. So I really, really, really appreciated what Telltale did and continued to do for a really long time after that. I still would like to go back and play some of the other Telltale games. I've played Game of Thrones. And I enjoyed that one as well. Not as good as Walking Dead, but it was good. And I played the other Walking Dead seasons as well. And all of them just masterfully done. Really, 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 really well done. But I haven't played like Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands and stuff, and I really would like to. So one day, yes, I hope to get to that stuff. It was great. Great experience.
The Walking Dead, I was already a big fan of the series before I started playing that game, but
like the show or the
comic books, actually. Like, I was into the comic books when it came out. I had subscribed to the comic books, so I had the first 30 some odd issues of the comic, and but I've since sold them. They went for an extremely stupid amount of money, so I got rid of them. They weren't that important to me.
I don't blame you.
So I was a big fan of the series, and then when they talked about the TV show, I couldn't wait, and I loved the TV show. I was all into it. And then the game, I had to play the game. So I was big time Walking Dead fan. And I remember playing the game and having more of an experience, like a kind of an emotional experience with the game than I did with the TV show at that time. I thought that the game was so good at making you like really kind of emotionally attached to these characters. So it was painful to see some of them, die and see what happens to them. And I thought Lee was a really good protagonist. I appreciated his character a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with all of your sentiments on that one for sure. I haven't played any of the Walking Dead Telltale games after that. I just played that first season.
Oh man, it only gets better in my opinion, honestly.
Really?
Like I said,
did you play the Michonne one?
No, I did not play that one. That's a little one of the side stories.
Yeah.
But the like Clementine is just such an amazing character after the first season. And some would argue that she was an amazing character there too. And I don't disagree. It just, like I said, the voice acting was kind of not, it's just like, okay, like really, really like soft spoken, but like
you do that
way.
Too well,
I was just
man.
like, oh dude, no, don't come on. And it just,
now that I think about it, I did play season 2, but I don't think I finished it. I maybe got halfway through it. I think Telltale games are not particularly my style of games. They're a little too passive for my liking.
Sure.
And I think if I'm going to watch a story-driven piece like that, I'd just rather watch it and not have to do the quick time events and make quick decisions and things like that. Just some of the dialogue does kind of drag, I think, in some situations. Not all. And then when you have to go and walk and find things and stuff like that, it's not a very, I don't think it's a very well done mechanic to make me want to keep playing it. So I lost interest in Telltale games after about midway through season 2, and I haven't played any of their games since.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely not for everybody, but when that first one came out, it was a big deal. And that's why that's why it finally got on my radar, and I'm so glad that I dove in, because I absolutely adore that game. Okay. Moving on, 2013, odd year, which means it's my turn again.
Yeah.
And my game is Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn.
Okay.
Yeah. For a bunch of reasons. Gosh, where to start? So one of the biggest reasons is because the original Final Fantasy XIV, I came off of 11. I still honestly have an active 11 account. I still, hop on like once a year. But I still go back, and just for pure nostalgia, because I love running around and exploring, and they made it to where you can solo everything in that game with NPC party members and stuff. And it's great. It's great being able to see all these old places that I spent hours upon hours. I have so many stories about Final Fantasy 11. I'll probably do a video on that at some point, just because I love that game with all my heart. So when I knew 14 was coming out, I was really, I was excited, but at the same time, I was kind of just like, it's a little soon for another MMO already. Like, really? Like, okay, you know what? Hey, it's Final Fantasy. I'm going to play it, sure. And then I played it, and I didn't, because it wasn't very good at all. Yeah. It was just terrible. I remember just going in there, couldn't figure out what the hell I was doing. Once I did figure out what I was doing, I was like, I don't even want to do this. It's just so boring and tedious, and 11 was a grind, but at least there was a sense of community and people were enjoying themselves. This one, it just felt like work, and everybody was pissed off all the time, and there wasn't really anything to do. Maybe there was later on in the game, but what I played, there really wasn't much to do, other than just fetch quests over and over again. So it was disappointing, and I shelved it and never looked back. When I found out they were redoing it and that it was going to be very close to the style of World of Warcraft, I had always said prior to that, I would love to see a World of Warcraft gameplay type game with a Final Fantasy skin. And that's what Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn was. It absolutely nailed it. I knocked it out of the park, just blew all my expectations away. Not only was the gameplay great, and they really made it to where I was having fun, and I could, group with people and do all these things. It was a blast to explore this huge, just amazing world that had all my favorite Final Fantasy aspects to it: job system, exploration, dungeons, party members, characters, just crazy, fantastical story, all this stuff. But it was so well told. So I always compared it to like World of Warcraft makes, like, cause I played both for years. World of Warcraft makes Azeroth, the World of Warcraft, the main character essentially. You are a soldier in this war, and you are kind of along for the ride as all these incredible, crazy things are happening throughout the world, and you are just living in it and kind of being a part of doing what you can in your small little tiny corner of it. Totally cool. Really, really interesting stuff. The lore in that game is amazing. You won't hear me badmouth it or anything like that. I think it's fantastic. Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn does the opposite. They make you the center of the story, which is really hard to do as an MMO, because obviously how can everybody be the freaking, center of the story? But they do it in such a way that, like, say you go into a dungeon or something like that, and you've got a whole bunch of other people that are with you. you're all warriors of light, which is, you know, how they make a big deal out of it. And so they make everybody feel like the main character in that story. And so like while you're going around and you're seeing all these cutscenes and everything's focused on you. But even when you're playing with other people, there's a sense of community with people you don't even know, because you're all experiencing these events together. And it's just really, really beautifully crafted. And it's an absolute pleasure to play through. And frankly, I get excited every time I see a new expansion comes out, because it means I'm going to get another piece to the puzzle. I'm going to get another story segment and play through it all. And I'm a big fan of soloing in MMOs. It's like, it's one of the reasons I always say, like, hey, friend me on my consoles, because I will have as many friends as I want to on there, because I'm super cheesy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I love hopping into a game and looking at my friends list and seeing that other people are playing something, whether it's the same game I'm playing or, you know, something else. I love that people are gaming and that I can see that. If I'm a character in this big sprawling open world, and I realize this is more about MMOs in general than it is about Final Fantasy, but I love that idea of being able to play and do my own thing, which is what Final Fantasy XIV did well, allowed you to be the center of your own story, knowing that there's thousands of other people who are experiencing the same thing in that same world that you can interact with, talk to, and everything like that. And they just made it to where it was not the original 14. They just did everything the opposite and took everything that WoW did well and enhanced it and turned it into a Final Fantasy game. And I love it for that. And I still play it to this day.
They turned that game around pretty quick too, didn't they? Like between 14 and the remake, or 14 or the Realm Reborn
years.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I didn't play it when it originally released, but I did play the Realm Reborn. And I did enjoy it, but as much as I want to get into MMOs, I really can't, you know,
Or time sink.
They are. I mean, my first experience with an MMO was back with EverQuest. And I enjoyed the hell out of that game. And I almost failed out of my first semester in college because of that game. And so I kind of stayed away from them up until WoW. And then I played WoW pretty heavily for a few months. I was never a long-term MMO fan, but Realm Reborn is really a pretty interesting game, I think. I think they did everything well. I enjoyed the story aspect. I enjoyed the fact that didn't they have voiced characters in there?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that element of it. That was something WoW didn't have. You just kind of had to read along, and it wasn't animated. There was a lot of cutscenes and stuff in 14.
WoW has cinematic cutscenes with voice acting.
I don't remember much of it, at least not in the early days of WoW when I used to play it. But that was something that definitely stood out to me in Final Fantasy 14. But one big barrier for me with those games is the subscription fee. So that always kept me from
again, understandable.
Playing. Yeah. It just, to me, if I'm going to pay a subscription fee for something, and I'm not playing it, then I feel like I'm just throwing money away. So I just don't do it.
No, and I you're 100% justified in that. And I have an active subscription now. When I start playing it, I will get hooked, and I will, it'll be the game that I'm playing for the next 5-6 weeks. I'll get home from work and I'll hop on there for 2-3 hours a day, and I'll just do a bunch of stuff and hang out, talk to people that I haven't talked to in a while, all that stuff. But then I'll go 5-6 months without doing anything. However, because they got me, I have a house in game. If you're logged out for 45 days, even if you have an active subscription, if you're logged out for 45 days and you have not entered your house, you lose it. So I have to log in at least once every 45 days to do that. So I have to keep my subscription active. Like I said, they got me. But I genuinely enjoy it. And I get super excited. Like I said, anytime a new expansion comes out. So, but I've rambled more than enough about that game. So what is your 2013, sir?
Okay. 13. There was a few games in there that I enjoyed quite a bit. But looking back on it now, I think the one that I had the most fun with was BioShock Infinite. And so I was a huge fan of BioShock, and I was very, very excited for BioShock Infinite to come out. I wanted to see what kind of world they could create, similar to how they created this underwater world in the original BioShock. I thought was an amazing feat. You know, it was. I was already fascinated with. Well, I am fascinated with water and, you know, the unknown,
Yeah.
and the depths of the sea, and so creating a world in this unknown was really, really appealing to me, and it ended up being a wonderful game. BioShock Infinite kind of does the opposite of that and puts you up in the clouds, and it's the sense of wonder isn't the same for me for that, but I did appreciate the drastic difference, you know, in tone. It's a bright, colorful world full of, um, you know, different types of enemies and rails that you can grind on and get from different places, with a companion character that goes around with you, is another element that's just really cool. You don't feel like you're alone in a desolate world.
Yeah.
You know, it really does a good job at that. And I love the world that it created, the storyline, the companion, like everything I remember about it, I loved. But the biggest thing, I think, another big reason why I loved it so much is I built a PC that year, and with my graphics card that I got, it came with a code for BioShock Infinite before it released, and Tomb Raider, the Tomb Raider game. And so I remember pre-loading or pre-entering the code, and I couldn't wait for that game to come out. When it came out, I finally got to play it, and playing it on my brand new built PC, you know, that I did myself, was, you know, it was another element that added to that game for me.
Sure.
And it looked so much better on this PC than it would have on my Xbox 360 or something, you know, and I just really appreciated that element of it, and it helped further the beauty that game really has. So yeah, that's my 13.
I have not played Infinite yet, but it's on the list for this year. So
I remember that. Yeah, you're gonna love that game. You played the original, right?
I played 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
I really enjoyed them both.
If the gameplay feels the same, it's just in a completely different environment. Like, all the elements that you probably enjoy from the BioShock games are there in a different world. It's a great game. It really is.
A lot of people aren't crazy about 2, from what I understand, but I actually liked it better than 1. I was hooked on 2.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
I don't know.
2 just felt like an extension of 1, and
Yeah.
a not great extension at that. It was okay, but 1 was also a new experience, so it was just the newness of it, you know, and the discovery was great. And I think
Would
Infinite,
you kindly?
What?
Would you kindly?
Kindly what?
Not remember? Oh my God, the big twist in BioShock 1.
I don't remember that phrase. I do remember the twist.
You clearly don't remember the twist, because that is the twist. I don't know. Are we okay to spoil it? I mean, it's an old game.
Spoiler. Yeah.
Spoiler on BioShock 1. The whole time, the narrator is like, not narrator, but the person who's been giving you, like, telling you where to go, what to do, is like, would you kindly do this? Would you kindly go get this? Would you kindly go over to this place and do this? Would you kindly go do this? And at the end, you find out it's all a big mind game. Your character has been programmed to do anything if somebody says, would you kindly first? And so you realize the whole time, like, oh my God, I have literally been just falling for this the whole time.
Man. Oh, I need to.
It was a big, it was crazy.
Well, there's probably something like that in Infinite. Okay, so things like that go over my head.
I was like,
sometimes I get so caught.
Like, not what?
Yeah. I get so caught up in the gameplay and things that sometimes I might overlook the story.
Sure.
Borderlands. So, I although BioShock is such a heavily story-driven game, I remember I got the gist of it, but I wasn't terribly involved in it. And I don't remember that. Man, that was... I played that game, 13 years ago now? Came out in, 2007. So my memory sucks.
Would you kindly is a phrase that was programmed to function as a trigger for the post-hypnotic suggestions programmed into the mind of Jack. Yeah.
Huh.
So you were literally, like, doing what your character was programmed to do.
Like, BioShock the Collection is the free game on PS Plus this month, in case you didn't know.
I already have Infinite. I'm going to play on a PC anyway.
Okay. Well, it's exciting for me because I haven't played the original BioShock in so long, obviously. So I might go ahead and play it again since it's the free game of the month. So
May as well, yeah, absolutely. So it's all 3 games?
I think so. The collection. I don't know if it's all 3, if it's just the first 2, but I think it's
Even
all
if
3.
it is the first 2, shoot.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's a good deal.
All right. 2014?
All right. 14. Okay, 14 was a big year. I know I told you this earlier today when we were talking. 14, I have 6 games that I had to choose from on 2014. That was a really great year. Yeah. But after much deliberation, I tried to pick the game that I probably spent the most time with, one that I could go back to and play anytime and still have a good time with it. Mind you, this is also the year that Dark Souls 2 came out, and I enjoyed the hell out of Dark Souls 2. But,
did you? Really?
But my choice for 14 is Hearthstone. I loved Hearthstone. I mean, I played so much of that. when I was at my previous job, there was a lot of downtime there, let's just say. So I would spend my downtime playing Hearthstone on my computer. And my boss didn't care. If we didn't have anything to do, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Just twiddle my thumbs. So I would just play Hearthstone and until there was, something to do. And man, I put so much time into that game at work and at home. I couldn't wait for them to release it on phones so I could play it on my phone. But at that time, it was a PC only release. And I would play the heck out of it. I remember coming home from work and putting it on, and I would actually stream on Twitch playing Hearthstone. And I got really good at it. My main was the priest character. Mm-hmm. And the priest character he's good at the long run. So, well, I'm sure everybody knows what Hearthstone is, but it's a card game created by Blizzard in the kind of World of Warcraft setting, I guess. And it's a really unique, wonderful, addictive game. It's kind of like gambling in a way. You want to keep winning to get that next loot box, to get new cards. And it just keeps you going. And every time I play a new round and I play that long game, man, I would and I would be down to like nothing for health. Like I would have like 2 points left. And then all of a sudden, because I'm a priest, I can heal myself back up and lay down all of this army of cards and just lay down brutal attacks on the opponent and destroy them. And every single time, I know it pissed them off because it was one of those jump for joy moments for me, man. It's one of the few games that I can say that gave me such excitement for winning something. Sure. I don't generally get competitive or really excited over winning something online, but Hearthstone, man, it triggered all the right reactions for me, for sure. I had a hell of a time with that game. I would love to go back to it, but at this time, it seems like there's been so many updates and things like that. Like I would have to relearn the game, and I don't know that I'm up for that. And the priest character has been since like it's not the same character that it used to be, so I wouldn't be able to go in and play my same way. I would get dominated. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's another one of those where I don't know that card battle games were, I mean, they were a thing because obviously we had like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic and stuff like that, and we had video game versions of those. But it was never the level that Hearthstone got to, video game wise, obviously. Because I mean, I don't think anything will touch Magic.
For sure.
But as far as video games go, Hearthstone really, really put the card-based battling games on the map. And I think, quite frankly, a big reason of that is like the animations. They were brilliant. They were flashy. They were super satisfying to watch. It was, I mean, they even had little side things where, like, I mean, all the Warcraft games do where if you click on something more than once and you keep clicking it over and over again, they'll say funny things or they'll do something or sheep will explode or whatever. Hearthstone did the same thing. They would, waterfall would turn on or you'd see a gem light up or something like that. And it would just really, a lot of flair to it. And just, you're right. There was something just addicting about going in, trying new combos, trying new moves, trying to get your rank up. I am not a big PvP guy, but in that, I didn't mind. I didn't mind going on, online and playing against other people just to see, test how well I could do. I was never that great. I think the highest rank I got to was maybe 14. Like nothing spectacular or anything, but I had fun doing it and it was a blast. And the higher you get, the more like, I better not lose this, get, because
I love
know
that.
that you got a chance of going back down a rank and stuff. It was really well balanced. And actually later on when they started introducing the single player stuff, like where you play against NPCs and do like a little story mode, I thought that was actually a really nice touch as well. So I definitely cannot fault you for putting that on there. I think is a great choice.
Yeah, that was a wonderful game. I kind of miss that time. When I was going back through trying to figure out what games to choose, I had completely forgotten about Hearthstone. As funny as that is how much time I put into that game. But going back and looking at that, I was like, this was my game of that year. Definitely.
Yep. All right. Ready?
Go for it.
Okay. 2014 for me, Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh. I hated that game.
As my buddy Brian calls it, Drinquisition. You hated it.
I love Origins, and I really liked the second one, even though most people didn't. Yeah. Origins was a fantastic game. Inquisition did not do it for me.
See, and I think that's a reason. Like, I would tend to agree. I think Origins was a better game overall. However, I didn't finish Origins, and it's because I thought it dragged on for too long, and I was just like, all right, I'm just done with this. I would like to go back at some point and play it, and I never played 2. But this one I played and I got into, and I'm a sucker for like base building and improving your surroundings and completing quests and missions to, have more characters join you and stuff. I love the Suikoden series. But like kind of like building your army and looking like you're actually like creating something within the game that is like a collective that you are then using to go up against, the big bad boss or whatever. And I'm a huge sucker for that kind of thing. And this game had that twice because you have 2 different bases in it. And you build up both, which it's kind of heartbreaking when you lose the first one. But it's still a ride. And it's I would say it's when BioWare was still doing what they did best. And I really, really enjoyed my time with it. I'll be honest with you. I don't super remember much, other than I know when I was playing it, I was really, really into it. But I it's one that I would probably need to go back and watch videos again or something like that. I don't know that I'll ever go back and play it, but I know that when I played it, I was just neck deep, and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
You mean knee deep?
No, man, neck deep. Neck deep is deeper than knee deep.
You don't remember the jab cast
episode?
Oh
yeah, you did. That's right. I was knee deep in that. So not very, or I don't understand.
Man, I was so pumped for Inquisition when it came out because I loved the first 2 games so much. I thoroughly enjoyed it, or enjoyed Origins. Even the second game, with as many faults as it had, I still loved it. But Inquisition just fell short, and I really, thinking back on it now, I can't remember why. I just remember trying to give that game a chance multiple times. I would play it, get bored, stop playing it, come back, say, I gotta love this. Why wouldn't I love this? It's another Dragon Age. Try it again, get back into it, get bored, put it down. I must have done that 3 or 4 times, and I finally just said, screw it, I'm done. And I haven't gone back since. So
it was also a lot more open-ended than the other games, well, at least from one. One had where you could go to 2 areas at a time, I think, and you could kind of choose where you wanted to go. And so Dragon Age Inquisition was just here's 4, and you choose where you want to go, and then when you finish 1, you're going to unlock 2 more over there. And there was so many different branches you could go.
It was more open world too, wasn't it? The environments that you explore, and I think that had something to do with it. I didn't feel like the areas were as interesting as they were in Origins.
They were they were expansive, but they could feel empty at times in a lot of places. Yeah, it would have benefited from like either being smaller or just having some more NPCs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It definitely has its flaws.
I don't feel like the character I don't feel like the characters were developed well enough either. At least in the point where I got to. Because I say this all the time, but character driven stories are what is going to keep me playing a game, usually when it's an RPG or something like that. And Origins had a wonderful character driven storyline that I loved. And I felt like that was lacking in Inquisition.
Did you play to where you lose the first base? Like
No,
the first base is like
a
castle with camp with tents out in front of it.
Out in the front, yeah.
Yeah, you can build that up a little bit. But there's not much to it. Once you lose that and you go to the next place, the game just there's a lot. And that's what sticks with me is the eye-openingness of how it went down after that, for sure. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed my time with it. So it is what it is. 2015. I mean, for me, it's there was only one choice because it's my 5th favorite game of all time. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Yeah.
No question. Is that not yours?
It's not, only because I'm playing it now.
Playing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, being a retro gamer, I mean, it's pretty clear because I wrote this list up so quick, simply because there were so many that I hadn't played, because I do tend to play the old stuff a lot more. So the fact that this is my 5th favorite game of all time is a testament to how good it is. Every single side quest and every single conversation is meaningful and impactful, and it just grabs you and pulls you in and makes you a part of that world. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of like Geralt as a character. I think he's kind of a fuddy-duddy a little bit.
I love his character.
I think he's like if there were to be a what's that movie with the tough guys, where they're all the movie stars, with Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham and like.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The Expendables.
Yes.
If there were a video game version of the Expendables, Geralt would be in there hands down, because he's like the gruff, tough, brute guy who doesn't take crap and fights and kills everybody he sees. And I just roll my eyes a lot with him. But damn it, if it doesn't work well within that world, and how well, like, I kind of have to sit back and be like, you know what? If I was treated as badly as he is by every single person out there while I'm doing these things to help them, and trying to do my best, and in some cases, just trying to make some coin, but I'm still helping them in the process, I'd probably be pretty pissed off and not really want to communicate with too many people also. So I kind of give him a pass on that and stuff.
Yeah.
I just, everything is so masterfully done in that game. The storytelling is so good. You can have a game that gives you plenty of plot points, that gives you plenty of side quests, gives you plenty of things to do. The Witcher 3 makes every one of those meaningful. How many games do you play where you're like, oh man, I hope I get something good for this. I hope I get a good reward, or I hope this quest is worth it, or I hope I get a new character unlock, or, something like that. The Witcher 3, it was more, I want to do this because I want to see what happens next. It was never about the rewards. It was never about what I was going to get out of it. It was about what I was going to see and what I was going to experience once I got to the next phase of that quest. And that to me is just a testament to how masterful their storytelling is. And you can say that's the original author. You can say that's CD Projekt Red. Either way, they all gave their own, put their own piece of their heart and soul into it. And there's a lot of the issues with them being forced to work and all that stuff, and that's sad to hear and stuff. But damn it if they didn't make a great game. And I'm not saying they should keep doing that to force these games out quicker and whatnot. But man, they really put something special together. So as much as as horribly as those workers got treated and stuff, I think it's still something to be proud of. with what they accomplished here. And like I said, I am a retro gamer through and through, and so to have something like this on my top 5 of all time was to me a big surprise. I was like, I can't fault it. Like this game to me is it is the best game I've ever played, hands down. If we did the list the other way, where it was, the top 10 games from the past decade, this would be number 1, hands down, no question.
Yeah, I can see that. Having played it now, like I'm currently playing it, it's such the voice acting, the storyline, the lore, the world, everything is so like intriguing. It's different. It's like I want to know what's going to happen next. You're absolutely right. Like collecting that new piece of gear isn't as rewarding to me as knowing what's going to happen next in the storyline and the plot.
Yep.
I think Geralt's a great character too, though. I like that kind of gruff toughness that he has, and I typically play Geralt as a nice guy. So whenever somebody is offered to pay me money to do something, I don't usually take it. I kind of just do it out of the kindness of my heart. Just kind of, I play it like how I feel like my Geralt would play. And
for me, it always depended on how they treated me. Like if they were a jerk and they were like, "Oh, Witcher, just go out there and kill the thing, will you? God, get out of my face." Then I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm going to take your money, dude." Screw you.
Yeah, and no, absolutely, I agree with that. No, we probably play Geralt the same way then.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I'll take money from any of those corrupt kings any day or leaders.
Right.
And I usually did. So, but yeah, it's a wonderful game. I agree.
Heck, Ciri was a great side story to that. I mean, she's incredible.
Yeah, she really is. I would like to see more of her. I'm not far enough in the game yet. I've played as her like 2 or 3 times now, but I haven't learned enough about her yet to understand her character completely. But I do.
Depending on how you play, there are 3 possible endings that are quite different from each other.
Okay.
So I advise you not to look anything up. Just play it naturally.
Just do it.
Okay. It was funny because myself, Mark, and Brian all played it, and each of us, we didn't look anything up. We didn't do anything like that. We all got one of the 3 different endings.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of fun to compare notes and that kind of thing.
Well, when I get through it, I'm going to have to talk to you about it so I can figure out what the other endings are.
Absolutely. It's a wild ride. I highly, highly recommend that game to anybody who is even remotely interested in a game with good storytelling. And heck, if you like the fantasy setting or medieval setting, it's gorgeous and just an amazing game to explore. Again, as I've said in the past, I do tend to be start from the beginning of the series and work my way forward. And I did that with this, but I had to force my way through The Witcher 1, man. It was not the greatest experience. That game is rough. Have you played it?
Not the first one, no.
Have you played the second one?
Second one, yeah. I played halfway through it probably.
Okay, so you know how big of a jump the second to the third game was.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Okay, so the jump from 1 to 2 isn't as big as that leap. So it's like you played 2, and it's definitely a step up, and it's a major leap from 1. But it's still like you feel it feels linear, and there's God, 1 is just such a slog to get through and took forever, and I was not a fan. Combat was terrible on PC, and it just
I just watched a video covering the story of 1. I figured that was better than playing it.
I mean, I'm glad I did it because I got to, when I played 3 finally, there were a lot of character cameos and that kind of stuff, which I thought was really neat, especially when you do the like the Blood and Wine and the other one that I can't think of off the top of my head. It's just a masterful game. It is literally the best video game I have ever played, hands down. So
also, I said this last episode, if you're a portable gamer, pick it up on the Switch. The Switch version is really good. That's how I'm primarily playing it. So
cool. 2015. What you got?
That's you. That's an odd number.
That was my 2015.
Oh man.
Stop trying to make this longer.
All right.
Never mind. Okay.
It is Bloodborne. It's not a Dark Souls game. It's not a Dark Souls game.
It's not. You're right.
Bloodborne is another one that I sunk a massive amount of time into. It's the same type of gameplay as a Dark Souls game. but it's set in a kind of what do you call that setting? I can't remember. Like, it's like a medieval.
It almost seemed like a dark Victorian kind of thing when I saw it.
Yeah, there's a name for it, and I don't remember what the name is. Anyway, it's you're fighting like werewolves and things like that, and the setting is so like dark and the creatures are so creative and cool. They incorporate a lot of the same systems from Dark Souls, such as bonfires, except for you don't rest at bonfires, you rest at light poles, and you have you have weapons that you can pick up, but each weapon has a secondary function. So there's a ton of different weapons in the Dark Souls games. There's just a huge amount of weapons, and you figure out which weapon fits your gameplay style the most. Bloodborne is the same way, except for the weapons that you're picking up. There's not as many of them, but because they have dual capabilities, it feels like there's a ton of weapons. So, like, I don't know if I'm explaining that real well, but like one weapon would be like an axe that you can wield with one hand, and then you just transform it into something that's two-handed and does more damage, but it's slower to use, and it's really a lot of fun. But the gameplay speeds things up considerably from the Dark Souls series. So there's a lot more enemies that you have to contend with, and there's a lot more reliance on dodging and not enough blocking. Like in Dark Souls, like most of my time is spent with my shield up, waiting for the time to attack. Bloodborne, you don't have a shield, you have a gun. So what you do is you have to parry an enemy. So right when they get ready to attack you, you shoot them with the gun, and it staggers them, and then you can get an attack on them. It's really unique, and I appreciate how they take aspects of the Dark Souls games and rework them in a way that feels fresh and new.
Yeah.
That put on top of the fact that you're in a completely different Victorian style environment. I would argue that Bloodborne, the environment in Bloodborne is probably better than the Dark Souls series. I won't say Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 was really cool because of how everything was interconnected within the map. But Bloodborne, aesthetically, I think was a more pleasing looking game, I guess. I just enjoyed the heck out of it. That was another game where I streamed on Twitch quite a bit. These are pre-podcasts things, when I was experimenting with getting out there with sharing my hobby.
Sure.
I streamed that on Twitch. I remember recording a lot of the boss fights and posting them up on YouTube, and played through it with the same Souls friends that I played with, and we all enjoyed the heck out of it. It's a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't obviously played it myself, but Brian, that was his entry into that style of game.
I think it was for a lot of people.
Yeah, and he swears by it still to this day. He loved it. He always his big thing. He was like, I wasn't sure I was gonna like it at first, and then you play it a few times, and you die, you get your butt kicked, and you kind of like. You're like trying to figure out the controls and your best way to move around and like you said, your best choice of weapon and how you want to approach different challenges and that kind of stuff. And he said, and then one day, I'm not sure what happened. It just clicked and everything kind of fell into place and I knew what I was doing. And from then on, it was so much fun. And I knew like what worked best for me and moving forward. And just, he would not stop talking about it, even long after he had finished it. Yeah, he raved about it. So I picked it up. I do have it, but I haven't, again, those kind of games, they terrify me, man.
That is a really good description for the Soul series in general. Like once it clicks, and then you've got it. You know what you're doing, and it's fun. And it's the experience getting up to that point. It's still fun. Like I say it's fun. It's still fun up until that point. But the frustration is lessened, I would say, to a degree. But yeah, it's then once it clicks with you, you can conquer anything if you just are persistent and learn the boss patterns and learn the environments and know where the enemies are going to sneak out at you and stuff like
Sure.
that. You could take it at a faster pace.
Cool.
16?
16. That's you.
16 for me. Dark Souls 3 came out that year. I love that game, but it's not my choice. This decade was huge for Souls games. But my pick is Overwatch.
Mine too.
Oh, yeah. Nice. I'm surprised. I really thought you were going to pick Uncharted 4.
I've not played Uncharted 4.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I've only played 1 through 3.
Wow. Uncharted 4 is great.
That's what I hear. I definitely want to. Yeah, for sure. It was one of the ones I had to cull from my list for next year as well. Or this year, I should say.
Is it on your list for this year?
No, it was going to be. And I had to knock it out because I had other stuff that I wanted to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overwatch is a game I still play to this day. So if that's any testament to how wonderful that game is, I don't know what is. This is let's see, we're going on 4 years now. And I played the hell out of it. I mean, every night I would play that game. And there was just something about the class system and character system and learning what character fits your play style the best, whether you're a support or a tank or an all-around kind of character. And I always went with Lucio. Lucio, I felt like, was a pretty well-rounded character. He was an excellent support character because he can heal people, but he can also speed people up. So in the beginning of a match, I would flip it on to the speed boost, and everybody would be able to speed to the objective quickly. And then once we get there, I flip it over to the healing power. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank. So anybody who's near me would get healed. And then I could also shoot my gun that shoots these kind of pulse beams out. And I wouldn't get any direct kills, but I would always get a bunch of assist kills, and they always counted as a kill for me. And so I would typically get not player of the game, but like voted as the player of the game because I was a good all-around character and helped everybody out. Also, the loot box system was another big draw. You always wanted to open it up. Although the rewards, I don't think were that great. I didn't particularly care for sprays and
it was cosmetics. Like that's the good thing though, is you didn't have to buy anything. You could literally just play through the game and you would get rewarded for playing. I preferred it that way because I don't want to go up against somebody who's just got all the time in the world or has all the money in the world and buys their way to the top with stuff that actually helps them in the game. So I'm more than okay with cosmetic stuff.
Well, and then the skins are cool. Like I want a skin. Like you don't get to see your skin when you're playing, but everybody else gets to see your skin, and it kind of adds a layer of uniqueness to your character. Because not everybody's going to have that skin. Some of them are more rare than others. So there was a cool aspect of the game. Well, who was your main?
So it changed. It started out as Bastion because I didn't know what the hell I was doing in the beginning. And so I would just be like, I got something, just defend stuff. And I would just,
that's a great thing about Bastion.
Just sit there and cause all I did is just, you plant him in one spot, let him go to town. And that was it. Then I started reading online and everything. And I'll catch flack for this cause everybody always frowns when they hear this. But I read in a whole bunch of places online that people who used to play Counter-Strike or still played Counter-Strike back in like the 1.5, 1.6 days, which is what I did like on teams and played in tournaments and stuff, apparently were very good at playing Hanzo. And so because they could, they had the bullet drop and they could actually aim correctly, and it worked with the arrow mechanics that he had. So I tried him out, and I was really, really good with him, and I enjoyed it. The only thing is he died so easily that it was just kind of like, because I'm pretty aggressive when it comes to that stuff. Like, even if I'm supposed to be a defensive player, I am the guy who will run in and try to get as much kills as I can, like no matter what. So eventually I became a Reinhardt player, and he has been...
Reinhardt is good.
He has been my main ever since, and I still every now and then go back in and play, and I just love playing as him because I love shielding people and running in and doing charges, and his giant axe oh my god, everything about him. I think he's just great. He's an absolute blast to play. So he would be currently my my main on there.
So,
yeah, Overwatch blew me away when it came out. Like you said, the class system, it wasn't your standard shooter, because normally you just had two teams of the same characters and you just fight or capture the flag or anything like that. This had those mechanics as well, but the fact that all these characters were so different and had such different play styles, it was mind-blowing how well it worked together. Because if you were to describe each character, you'd be like, that sounds like really cheap and stuff. It's like, yeah, but you've got this counter to that over here, and this person can do this, and there's so many aspects to that game.
It's brilliant. It really is.
It really is, and it still is. It holds up really well to this day. And it was really fun having a group to play with. I had like anywhere between 2 to 3 other people that I would play with on any given night. And we would always get together and just party up and go to town. And it was an absolute blast every single time.
Same. Yeah, definitely. That's how we played. Even if you play by yourself, it was still a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing that really makes Overwatch unique is the fact that you can come in as a new person and feel like you contributed to your team's success.
Yep.
Whether you're a support character or an attacking character or whatever, or defensive, you get counted for kills, you get counted for support. Like anything you do is rewarded. And you see it like as Lucio, like I just randomly hit a guy with one of my waves and I get counted for a kill. Oh yeah, that's awesome. And then when the game ends and I have like 20 kills, I'm ecstatic,
right.
And then it just does such a good job at making sure that anybody can feel like they're contributing.
Definitely. All right. You got anything else on there?
I don't. Well, actually, I played Overwatch, a few weeks ago. Jumped on there as Lucio again and dominated, man. It just felt so good. Out of
curiosity.
PS4.
PS4. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was playing PC. I would never play as Hanzo on console. I would do terrible with a controller. You give me a mouse and keyboard though, and oh my god, it is on. I'm just the opposite. I love playing Counter-Strike still to this day. I
think that's what it is. It's like
wonderful.
You've got your Counter-Strike roots, right. The PC roots carrying over. For me, it was Halo. I've got those roots carrying over, so controller's more comfortable for me.
Makes sense. All right, 2017, my turn. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
That is also my choice.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a wonderful year, though. Before we talk about Breath of the Wild,
definitely was.
I want to mention these games that I have on here because these are wonderful games. I'm not going to talk about them though.
Sure.
Super Mario Odyssey. It's a big year for the Switch.
Yep.
Super Mario Odyssey came out that year. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out that year. Also on the PS4, we had Resident Evil 7 and Evil Within 2, which are huge for me because I love horror games. But Breath of the Wild was truly a unique game.
It is. It's the game that really, like, after so many that came before it, it is the first 3D Zelda that really changed my mind on what a Zelda game should be. I was a top-down fan all the time. I like the original. I like Link to the Past. I like the Game Boy ones. I liked Ocarina of Time, and I like the ones I played moving forward. But I was always preferred. I always preferred to play the original top-down, just old school Zelda. That to me was Zelda. Breath of the Wild, though, I mean, it feels like a completely new. I mean, it is a completely new way to play Zelda.
It is
like it's if Skyrim and Zelda had a baby, this would be it. Like it is a go anywhere, do anything kind of thing. And I love the fact that you can literally go at any point to anywhere. You're not on a set path. Granted, I will say that is one of the things I did like about the originals as well, was you go through a dungeon or something like that, and you find an item in there, and you're like, oh, what does this help me unlock? And you go find out what that helps you unlock somewhere else in the game. Breath of the Wild has a little bit of that in there, but for the most part, you can pretty much do anything right from the get-go. Not a fan of the weapon breaking mechanics. That annoys the crap out of me. But it didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to. Yeah.
I enjoyed it though because it encourages you to try new things.
Sure. Yeah, and I once I got the Master Sword, it really wasn't that big of a deal, anyways. Obviously, because that thing basically just like gets delayed for a little bit and then it gets charged again, anyways.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I was more afraid of it before I actually played it. And then once I did, I was like, you know what? It's really not that bad because you can carry so many at the same time, and they replace so quick. It really wasn't that big of a deal. But
it never was an issue when I was playing it, but it does seem like it would be an annoyance.
Right. And I think if you explain it to somebody like that and you say like, oh, your weapons can break and then you have to replace them and stuff, it's like, oh, really? Ugh.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, try it out because it's really not as bad as you think.
Right.
I will say I don't think I'll ever be sold on story for Zelda. It's just always been super bare bones and never really like, oh man, I got it. This is so deep and intricate. It's like, no, it's not. It's pretty bare bones. It's always been about the gameplay, and this one has it in spades. I loved the shrine system. I thought that was so cool.
That was my favorite part of the game.
Same. Yeah, you're traveling around this huge open world, and you see a shrine off in the distance, and like, oh, there's a puzzle in there that I'm gonna go solve, and I'm gonna go get a bonus. You get super excited knowing there's 120 of them out there, but that you get lucky if you see one. It's like there's so much I have to explore and discover. That was mind-blowing, and it was just so cool, and it was just such a joy to run through. And then you get to these big walking beasts that you crawl up into, and it's a big dungeon on the inside.
I forgot all about that, man. Yeah, that was such a big aspect.
Tough as nails, but man, they were fun. And once you completed them, it was so satisfying.
Yeah.
The fact that you could pretty much, as I said, play how you wanted to play. I skipped the entire final castle. I climbed my way up because I had enough endurance. I climbed my way up the side of the mountain to the top and just went straight to the final boss.
That's insane.
Yeah,
wow, you missed out on so much.
I didn't really want at that point. I was ready to be done. To be honest with you,
that castle was kind of hard.
I would imagine so
because they had to. What are the guys? The guys, the horse guys. What are those called? I don't remember.
I know what you're talking about, but they're really hard to kill, and I didn't.
Yeah, like and there's a bunch of them in that castle. So
I'm glad I skipped it.
I generally avoided them pretty well, but man, they were so hard to kill. But another really, really cool part about that game is that you could use different tools and items any way your mind can think. Like, I remember one puzzle in one of the dungeons, maybe it was one of the creatures that you had to crawl inside. You had to get the electric balls or whatever and put them on the pressure plates. And I couldn't find the last one. So I was able to take my weapons and line them up. And they were metal weapons, so I was able to create a current of electricity. Yeah. I mean, that was so freaking insane to me. How did that should not be a thing that you could do in a video game. Be creative in how you can utilize things in a real world type setting. Like that's just one example. There are so many other things that you could do that are similar to that, combining different items, cooking things, the game was truly special. It really is.
It's a masterpiece.
Breath of the Wild 2 is one I'm stoked to play.
Sure.
I can't wait to see where they take it. But it reminds me though, or not, it doesn't remind me, but I'm still playing Death Stranding right now. Death Stranding, I think, utilizes a lot of those aspects, and I think it's borrows from Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways. You get some tools in that game that you can combine and utilize in special ways.
I can see that. Yeah.
Like the sticky gun. You could use that sticky gun for pulling things to you. That, it allows you to use the real world physics of a weapon in Breath of the Wild and Death Stranding, and be creative with it.
Yep, 100%. It is a game of freedom. I literally, when I first played it, because the game starts out in that cave where you come out, and I may have told you this before, but the first time I played it, I turned the game on, started in that opening area. You get a few little lines of dialogue. Walked out of the cave, took one look at the world, and I was like, nope, it's too big. I don't have the time for it right now. And I turned it off, and I didn't go back to it for a good 4 months. And then 4 months later, I went back and I was like, all right, I got the mindset. I'm ready to do it. I'm gonna go all in. And man, it just hook, line, and sinker. I was hooked.
Oh yeah, I couldn't put it down when it first came out. I played it all the way through in no time at all. But what was the dungeon that you got stuck on the most? You would think, or even the big golems or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know that I really got stuck on the ones that the ones that annoyed me were the combat ones, the combat shrines. I didn't like some of those simply because if you didn't have like super strong weapons in some cases, you were going to be in there for a while because they weren't going to take, like, they're hard to hit and they're not a lot of, they have so much health. And if you're not doing a lot of damage, you're going to be in there for so long where you just have to die and leave. So I wasn't crazy about those. I like the puzzle aspects, like having to figure out, like, turning the entire room and making a marble fall down and go through a track. And, those were the kind of things that I really enjoyed. I really didn't have any hard times as far as like, where I got frustrated and had to like take a breather or anything like that, though. I made it through, pretty cleanly. I think if I had gone through that final castle, that probably would have been it for me.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, it was that one that I told you about with the electric current, because I could not find that ball or whatever I needed to open this gate to get the treasure chest that was in there. And I was so frustrated with this level. And it was the very first like beast dungeon that I was doing.
Yeah.
And, but after that, it got easier. Like I was able to discover, hey, you can work around these situations. There are other options other than what they intend for you to do. So that kind of opened it up for me.
Not to mention finding a tower, climbing to the top, and then putting in your little slate and then uncovering more of the map. And then looking around to see if you can see other shrines and all that stuff, marking them on your map so you know where to go next. And it was just so satisfying.
It's got that Assassin's Creed style of looking out.
Yeah.
That works so well. I love that aspect.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I would say one of the best games. Again, if we were doing a top 10, that would easily make the list. Might even be,
I agree,
number 2 behind Witcher 3. 2018. So
18. That's me. Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. That was a great game. I played.
Also, can we pretend my voice didn't just go that high for a second? Is that cool?
I didn't even hear it.
Edit that out. Oh, good.
It was so
didn't
high.
Happen then.
My old ears didn't hear it.
That's good. Didn't happen.
Spider-Man was another one that I just, once I started it, I couldn't put it down. It was, and I didn't want to just go from point A to point B. Like, I wanted to find every damn thing on that map. I would explore every region of the city, and every time they would open up a new side quest, I guess is what you would call them, then I would go do all of them before I would carry on to the next storyline, mission.
Yep.
And I enjoyed every bit of it. I enjoyed swinging around the city. Like, this felt like a proper kind of step up from Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, which to me was hands down the best Spider-Man game I'd ever played for a long time.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
And this one just felt like the proper upgrade to that game. And I couldn't get enough of it. And now my 6-year-old son is playing it, and he adores the game. I put it on the easiest setting for him so it wouldn't be too frustrating, because the game does get challenging. Some of the battles do.
Sure.
And he is all about it. He is totally loving it. And so he'll sit in my game room with me, and I'll watch him play it, and he'll ask me questions on how to do things. And whenever he gets to a tough boss or something that he can't get through, then I don't usually take the controller. I'll try to explain to him what he needs to do, and if he still can't figure it out, then I'll help him out. But he's been playing through that game by himself and doing really well at it. So
that's great. I played it the very beginning of last year. Because I wanted to get it under my belt before I did my top 5 of 2018 for the channel. And I'm really glad that I did, because I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was so addicting. Oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as, like, within 10 minutes, I was like, I'm going to get to platinum on this game because I will not want to stop.
Did you?
So yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really easy to get. So I blazed through it, and my only real complaint is like the parts where you play as Mary Jane or Miles,
Yes.
because they're just kind of boring and they feel
They are
shoehorned.
boring.
Where it's like, this could have easily been done in a cutscene. I'm not really doing anything here, just kind of but it's hardly anything that like holds the game back or anything like that, because it's still just swinging around the freaking buildings was so addicting and so fun.
Yeah.
Then you just let go, and then you just zoom down super far, and then you catch yourself again, and then you go back. Like, it's just a blast. It's just a fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well, and
really couldn't tell you anything bad about it.
those parts you're talking about, those with the Mary Jane and Miles, those to me, I know what they were doing. They were trying to change up the gameplay a little bit, but
Right.
this game didn't need it.
No,
The game was
not at all.
already fun. It didn't need that change of pace.
Agreed.
It's rare that I play a game and I'm like, I don't want you to change it up on me. I'm having too much fun with the mechanics that you already given me.
Yep.
You know, who doesn't want to be able to swing through this city like Spider-Man? It's fun. It's so fun. And then exploring and trying to find the different things that you need to find is a lot of fun too. But there was the only reason I don't have a platinum on that game is because of the damn missions where you have to get like 5-star rankings or something. You know what I'm talking about? They're like the Taskmaster missions, I think.
The coins where you get like bronze, silver, and gold ratings.
Yes,
Yeah.
that.
You don't have to. All you have to do, like, you can do multiple playthroughs and just do the easier stuff, and you don't have to do all of them. Like I did. I got my platinum on 2 playthroughs. I didn't play through all the way on the second one. I just played enough to where I had enough coins to get that trophy, and I was able to afford the extra suits.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So
it
that
wasn't
stuff
like,
carries over then?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. So yeah, Spider-Man, definitely highly recommended if you haven't played it, for sure.
Oh man, and that's also the year that I went to E3, and I remember standing in line to play Spider-Man, and the booth that they had set up with, you were like in the city, and you could see J. Jonah Jameson up on a billboard, and finally get to go up there and play the game on this monitor, and I was so into what I was playing, and when my time ran up, I was like, I'm not done. Let me keep going. I love this.
More.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That's it. It's a great game.
My 2018 pick, I mean, nobody remembers. I was going to say, because it was in my obviously video that I did of my top 5, which obviously there's going to be a spoiler for my top 5 of 2019, because that's going to be my next game on the list. But oh well, because I'll still have 4 that I'll talk about. But for 2018, my top game was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh,
hated it.
I did not like that game at all.
You know what? You're not alone. There's quite a few people I know who were really excited for it because they loved Grand Theft Auto, but then played it and they were so disappointed. And
it was a great game. I mean, like, I love the concept of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was just boring. What it ultimately comes down to,
because it's a lot of traveling and there's not a lot going on when you're going from point A to point B, and you're pretty much doing the same thing every single time. So I completely get it. For me, I'm a big exploration junkie. So getting to see just this big, huge, wide open, just like grassland area, desert type area, and the snow, and there's forests and swamp and all that stuff too. But it's maybe it's just because I spend all my day inside playing video games, and this was a way to get outside. But I just genuinely, I love just riding around, just looking at stuff. Like if I were if there's such a thing as a video game photographer or something where you just take screenshots in game, that would be something that would pop into my head as a great one to get some screenshots from, because it is absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah, I won't argue with that.
Not to mention, quite frankly, I got attached to the characters. I loved Arthur Morgan as a character. I loved the whole crew. When one of them died or something, I would feel it. There is a really emotional scene with, if you have the horse for a long period of time. At the end of the game, there's a really emotional scene with the horse that and it's super simple and it's super subtle. And it's only like a few seconds long, but man, it was a gut punch. It's a really, really emotional story all the way through, and you kind of know where it's going because about 2/3 of the way through the game something happens and you're like, oh no, this can only end one way, like god dang it. So it's really somber towards the end, but you still want to know what happens next and stuff, and so you're watching Arthur go through all these emotions and everything. And I honestly, I totally get the criticisms behind it, and I don't fault you for feeling that way at all, because that you're, like I said, you're not the only person I know of that's felt that way. Just for me, the emotional roller coaster that it put me through was enough to make it super memorable. And the way that it looked, the way that it played, like I didn't have any interest in doing a lot of the extra stuff, but just exploring and seeing the world and just spending time in this just gorgeous world. And plus, I like the Old West. I like the setting, so that was fun too. I don't know. I just couldn't help it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I absolutely loved it. So I go into a little more depth in my old video on my YouTube channel, Game Room Revival. My top 5 games of 2018. So if you want a little more of my opinion on that, go check it out there. But yeah, so
cool. All right, 19. That's you.
That is me.
Take it away.
All right. Spoiler. One of my first videos in my new place is going to be my top 5. It's a little late this year, but I kind of wanted to do it as an icebreaker for when I get my new place all set up.
Top 5 for 19?
For 2019, yeah.
Oh, dude, 19 was such a great year.
It was. And quite frankly, there's still so many games that I haven't played, which is why this is probably going to be a little bit of a like, really? That's your top game? But for me, I loved it. And that is Fire Emblem 3 Houses for the Nintendo Switch.
No, I haven't beaten it. I need to go back to it. I really like that game.
I would like to go back to it at some point to play one of the other houses. I played through the Blue Lions, which from what I've read online and people I've talked to, that is the quote unquote worst one. And
really?
I loved it.
Team Yellow Deer.
Dude, I was so into it. I had an absolute blast playing through that storyline. I loved getting to know all the characters and getting crushes on a couple of the girls and trying to figure out who it was that I wanted to romance, and getting to know some of the guys in there, and just Fire Emblem and me had this thing where, like, because you have all the relationships and you get attached to these characters, I have a bad habit of not picking one party and sticking to it, which is 100% what you should do in Fire Emblem games. For the most part, at least, because there are obviously you have to make some adjustments saying like, well, there's archers are going to be invaluable on this map, so you got to have as many as you can of those. But for the most part, you want to have like a strong core party that you go in with. I tend to not do that, and so I make it so much harder on myself every single time because I want to build the relationships between everybody. So before every single battle, I would literally like look at the stats and be like, okay, this person has a B with this character. Oh man, he's only got a C with this one. I got to put those two next to each other. I'm bringing this guy in. Oh man, this person's really low level. He's going to do trash in the battle. But he's really close to getting a level up with this other character. So, all right, my level 9's coming in with my level 18s. This will be great. It was like I was more focused on the character interactions and the leveling up the relationships and seeing what developed there, because there was some really, really interesting stuff. And I really, really just enjoyed it. And like I said, it's something I want to go back to and play again. I definitely want to do the Black Eagles. Is that the
I think, yeah, that sounds right.
I really want to do that one because it's how far have you gotten? Have you gotten to the time skip yet?
No.
Okay. So yeah, once you get to the time skip, it's so weird to know that there's 2 other branching paths. Well, technically 3, because Black Eagles apparently has 2 ways you can go as well. But like, because you only see your side, and so you're sitting there like, this person's a jerk. Why are they doing this? Like, what the heck, man? I can't believe you know. And so when you think about it, it's like, well, if I play as that character, I guess I'll be able to figure out more info, and who knows, maybe I'll think my guy was a jerk, you know, at that point. So it's, you know, I love that aspect and contemplating that. I would say to anybody out there who's never played a Fire Emblem game, if you have a Switch, this is a wonderful, wonderful entry into the series.
Would you say it's your favorite?
Yes, I would. I absolutely would. I think it's just masterfully done. I'm, you know, I've been playing the Fire Emblem series since the GameCube. So I, you know, I've been with it for a while. And this is hands down my favorite, and it's easily the most accessible. You don't have, you know, you don't.
I agree with that.
Turn off the permadeath and stuff, which is, you know, that was always my least favorite part of the older games, because I hate. It's a big reason I don't like. Well, not that I don't like, but that I have a hard time getting into Valkyria Chronicles. It's because that permadeath. I hate losing any party members, and so if I, you know, spend 3/4 of a battle only to have somebody die, and it's like, oh crap. So then I have to go back. And those battles, you know, they take like 40 minutes to an hour long.
Yeah, some of them do. Yeah,
having to do that over and over again is rough. So it's not for everybody. But this one, I can definitively say, anybody who's curious about the series, this is a great entry, because you can turn that off and you can just have fun with it and play your way. So highly, highly recommend it.
Well, it also, I like it because it allows you to walk around the school and, you know, get to mingle with people and do different side things. You know, you couldn't do that in the previous games. It was usually, I mean, you could, but it was like menu based.
Not to this extent. No.
And it's a fun game. I really want to go back to it. And I will eventually.
All right. What you got for 2019?
All right. So for 19, I had two. No, I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
I had a really hard time with this one because I have 4 games on my list here, but 2 were really, really, really strong contenders. And I'm gonna go with Resident Evil 2. My other contender was Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. The only reason I'm not picking that is because I haven't beaten it yet, and I need to go back to it. I had to stop playing it because I was in the middle of a move. And I have to go back and relearn the controls. And so I haven't been able to psych myself up to go do that yet.
Right.
But Resident Evil 2 Remake was a phenomenal game. It was – so Resident Evil series I talked about before in the first episode is one of my favorite series of all time. And I felt like the series had been run into the ground with 5 and 6. 7 was a good kind of solid game and starting to return to form. But Resident Evil 2 Remake showed me that you can have a proper Resident Evil experience in modern day time. Like it did everything right. Like there's nothing that game does wrong. I remember, again, when I went to E3, that's when they announced it. And I got to play it there at E3, and I waited for 3.5 hours to play that game.
Jeez.
And it was another one where I was so into it and I couldn't wait. That was my most anticipated game of 2019 by a long shot. And so when it finally came out, I played it. I think I beat it within a week, which for me is unusual. It takes me some time to get through a game. But the reason this game does everything so right is it takes the story, it takes the police station, it takes all the different environments and enemies and characters, and remakes them and updates them as well. You know, so you're still playing through a familiar storyline, and you're still playing through this familiar police station, but it feels more, it feels re-energized, refreshed. The gameplay's got the camera behind the third person perspective. And it works so well, kind of like Resident Evil 4. It works in that way, but it still puts you up personal with the action. The zombies are terrifying, absolutely terrifying. They take more shots to put down, but they react to where you shoot him. You shoot him in the shoulder, and he'll go back and, you know, get back and when you shoot him in the other shoulder. If you shoot him in the legs, he'll fall down, and get back up. And they're just so scary. And then Mr. X. Mr. X is one of the most, I would say, one of the most terrifying experiences I've had in a game, simply because he's constantly stalking you, and you can't really get away. Like you can run away from him, and it kind of it's a double-edged sword, because the tension that he creates is unlike any other game that I've played. But it also kind of slows down the pace of the game for me a little bit, because he comes a little bit later in the police station, which is the first section of the game. And by this time you're ready to get out, and you're looking for all the different stuff that you need for, to get out of there. And he kind of hinders that, because you don't know, like, if I walk into this next room, is he going to be there? And you can hear him stomping around. Like, he's got real heavy feet, and so he's coming after you. But you don't know where he's coming from. And I would figure out different ways to kind of cheat the system. So there's like safe rooms. He can't go into safe rooms. So I would play with him. I would go into a safe room and then open the door and then lure him back over to me, and he'll start walking towards the safe room, and then he'll just kind of try to swing at me through the door, but it's like an invisible barrier that he can't get through. So I would just sit there and take pot shots at him and laugh hysterically at.
I will say, not having I haven't played the game obviously, but I did find it comical, all the mods that I saw of him.
Oh yeah,
and like some of them were creepy, like the Thomas the Tank Engine one.
Yes,
like
that is
oh
so
my
good.
god, it's terrifying. There was like Darth Vader and Shrek, and the clown from It. Like it's like Pennywise, that's his name. It's I think I saw the Goose from the Goose Game as well as one.
Oh,
of them.
really? I haven't seen that one.
Like
I have it on the PlayStation 4, but I kind of want to get the PC version just so I can play around with those mods. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
I don't know if you're into horror games at all, but this is one of the best, if not the best, that I've played in recent years.
Did you ever listen to the TFN episode where Mark and I reviewed Amnesia?
No, I don't remember that.
So, you know what Amnesia is, The Dark Descent, right?
Yeah.
So we played through it, and I would say I probably played through maybe 60% of the game. Then Mark would take over every now and then. I'd say he maybe played through about maybe like 5 to 7%. He had to conveniently take a lot of bathroom breaks. But so, because it would freak us out and stuff. And the last part of the game, it just got too much for both of us, and we made his wife now, but his girlfriend at the time, play through it. So thank you, Shanna, for finishing that out for us so we could see the ending. I don't do well with horror games. Him and I, we do like playing them together. Like Fatal Frame 2 was another one that him and I absolutely had a blast. We used to go to the lake as kids together, and that was a game that we brought with us and would play there. So I don't
go to the lake to play video games.
Dude, like seriously, that was everybody else was outside on jet skis and stuff like that. We were like, well, we brought our PlayStation. Don't want to let that go to waste.
Oh man,
100%. It was great. But it's I definitely want to get into the Resident Evil series. I've said this a million times. I tried the first one when it first came out, and I went in with the mindset of I'm going to go in and I'm going to run a gun and kill zombies, and it's going to be an action game. And no, that's not it, even slightly.
Mm-mm.
So I kind of ruined it for myself because of that. Now, knowing otherwise, I definitely do want to give it a shot and honestly play through the whole series at some point, because it's it's too important of a piece of gaming history to just skip. So I definitely will at some point.
I definitely think starting off with the Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 7 are solid choices. Now, the older games are a hell of a lot of fun, and I stand by those 100%. But I feel like the tank controls are a little bit difficult to get used to. But they're still fun games. But I think
get used to it with Silent Hill 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. Same type of thing. But I think these newer games are just really hitting the right chords. They've got that Resident Evil feel, but it's in a modern style of gameplay and a modern perspective. They're wonderful games.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm pumped for the Resident Evil 3 remake. That I didn't play Resident Evil 3 to completion. That's another one where I gave up on pretty early on. I think about midway through the game. Yeah. But I'm actually thinking about picking it up and playing it again in preparation for the remake when it comes out.
Cool.
So that was a good year. But man, that was fun.
I think that does it. Yeah. And it didn't go 4 hours. We're a little under 2.
It didn't. We're almost at 2. That's actually impressive.
And you wanted to do honorable mentions. Really?
Well, thinking about it after the fact, yeah, you were right. But I mean, I did kind of want to
mention them off. No, I completely understand for sure.
And so I thought 2017 was a good year to name those off, because that was a wonderful year for the Switch. Hell, 19 was a wonderful year for the Switch. There's some amazing games that came out last year.
You gonna get Animal Crossing when it comes out?
I am, but not for me. I'm going to get it for my kids. I might play with it a little bit. Animal Crossing, I played it on the first experience with Animal Crossing was the one on 3DS. And I really got heavily into that game. And then I reached a point where I'm like, I feel like I'm wasting away.
What am I doing?
I'm collecting bells for what purpose? What end am I going for here? And I just had to quit. I had to stop.
I have tried to get into pretty much every Animal Crossing, and I just – every single time I'm like, you know what? This is the one. I'm going to do it. I'm all about it. Yeah. And I never have been able to. The only one that I have sort of gotten into and I was hooked on for a little bit is the mobile one.
Oh, wow. And I don't think I've even played that.
I think it's because I knew other people who played it. And so the multiplayer aspect and being able to build your own town and having other people come visit it has always fascinated me. Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of like trying to see who else is going to be playing this new one. Because if you can do that with this version on the Switch, which you can, and I think you can actually like do co-op where you're actually going out and gathering stuff and everything like that, which sounds kind of neat. So if I have people to play with, I'll give it another shot. Because it's always strike me as a neat concept. And obviously it's got a bajillion fans. People go nuts. Like, have you seen how crazy people have gone over this, the new Switch version that's Animal Crossing?
Yeah. I gotta admit, I like those colors.
Yeah. Oh yeah, nice for sure. Colors. I was like, I hope they sell the Joy-Con separately, because that's actually really cool. Yeah. So
those games, the reason why they're so good is it's an addictive game. Like it's one of those, like, you got to turn it on every day to do your daily tasks. And I think that's part of the reason why I stopped, is like, what am I doing? Like, I'm getting on here just so I can go find shells or catch some fish, and then,
right.
It's just, why am I doing it? There's no real ultimate goal other than to build my town.
Well, and then pay watch off the loan or whatever.
Pay off the loan just to get another loan, build something else.
Oh, is that what happens?
Yeah. You're always in debt in that game.
Oh God.
But also, like, I grew an attachment to some of my townsfolk, and then they would be, well, I'm leaving, bye, and they'd move away.
Why?
Hey, where are you going, man?
What did I do wrong? That's great.
But my kids love Animal Crossing, man. They freaking love it. So I know we'll be buying that game. I just don't know how much time I'm going to be putting into it.
That's understandable. I don't understand. You have nothing else to play, so what else are you going to do with your time,
You're so right.
Cool. I think that wraps up our list and pretty much wraps up this episode.
That's right.
Next month, which will be my first recording from the new place, it will be April. Well, I think we'll probably record in March sometime, but it'll be out in April, right around the time that the Final Fantasy VII Remake drops. Therefore, episode 4 will be all about Final Fantasy VII. Our history with it, the game itself, the impact it's had, why we love it so much, just all Final Fantasy VII all the time. I love that game, and I have so much nostalgia for it. So it's
too.
I cannot wait. I'm super excited. What's your Twitter?
At Bertazoid.
All right. And you also have your own podcast too that you do. You haven't released an episode in a while, but I think you said you still plan on doing a few more when you get time, right?
It's on an indefinite hiatus right now. So I'm not sure when it'll come back or if it'll come back or but yeah,
I will say regardless though, you can still go back and listen to the old episodes that are up because they're still entertaining as hell and fun to listen to. So Just a Bit Gaming.
I appreciate that. Yeah, there's still there's like 50 some odd episodes up there. We ran for 2.5 years. So
hell, you god dang, I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, dude. Crazy. When I was going back through this list and you were talking about Breath of the Wild and stuff, it's like I think that's the year that no, I don't know. I don't remember. That's the year that I started Just a Bit Gaming, or when we met. Yeah, time flies.
That would have been 2 years ago. So 2018, yeah, it would have been that year.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's when you started Just a Bit Gaming, but that's definitely the first time we went to Retropalooza. So.
Oh no, then maybe it was 16 because I contacted you right before I started that podcast. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. And I also, if you're not watching the video portion of this, you can, if you'd like to, over on my YouTube channel, and that is Game Room Revival, 3 words. And I do videos of my collection and my thoughts, and I ramble a lot, and I make fun of myself a lot. And I do some game reviews, which I haven't done one in a while, so I'm really, really getting the itch to get back into them. So I've got 2 games that I'm definitely going to be reviewing that I know for sure I will be. So hopefully I'll start one of those pretty soon. And my Twitter is at JJ Santinello, SANTANIELLO. You can just go to my YouTube channel and I post that link in all my videos. So, and if you're watching from the YouTube channel, you'll see both of our links for our Twitters in the comments as well, or not in the comments, in the description as well. So, man, I am freaking wiped out, tired, and
it was fun, man. I appreciate the conversation.
Yes, always, absolutely. So it's going to be a while before we get to do it again. So, but yeah, I will be in my new digs and hopefully in a dedicated game room, or at least the starting of what will become one. So, because I know I got a lot to do, like carpeting and all that kind of stuff before I got to get new furniture and everything before I can get all that stuff in there. But I'm excited either way. So yeah, I will. You got anything else?
I don't. That's it, man.
All right. Well, with that, this is episode 3 of the Pixel Perspective podcast. Signing off, my name is JJ.
I'm Adrian.
And as always, what should they do, Adrian?
Keep on gaming.
There it is. Thank you. Good night.